What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I want to talk about 3 things that poker players absolutely must stop doing. These might be holding you back at the poker tables, might be costing you money. I'm going to break it all down for you in today's video. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so these are the 3 things that when I was first starting out my poker career, before I went pro, nearly 20 years ago, these are the 3 things that held me back the most. I'm going to talk about how I fixed them in today's video. Alright guys, so the first thing that held me back that I still see with many of my students today is having low confidence in their abilities. And I really think this comes down to this idea that we have in poker of hero worship. We see this everywhere. There's a handful of poker players, not going to name their names, everyone knows their names. They're all over YouTube, they're all over the TV, you know, and people used to watch poker on TV, and we idolize these various pros and we think that, oh, they're so much better, I could never play on that level, you know. Guys, that thinking just holds you back so much at the poker table. I've said many times in these videos before, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you have a name in the poker table, if you made $1 million or you've made your first $2 at the poker table. You should always believe that you are the best poker player at that table. If not, why are you playing at that poker table? Guys, it's okay to look up to high stakes pros. I've certainly had many, poker players that have inspired me over the years. I've even had mentors that were high stakes poker players that really helped me start progressing early on in my career when I was having a lot of problems. But guys, there's a huge difference between respecting these players and literally idolizing them like they're some sort of poker god or something. Guys, these are just regular players, and you need to develop the confidence in your ability that you can step up there one day and beat them when it matters at the poker table. Because if not, you need to ask yourself, why are you playing this game? If you're just here for a weekend hobby type thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But guys, if you truly have a vision and a goal for yourself to be one of the best players in the world at this game, if you want to play this game professionally like I did for many, many years, you really need to develop an ironclad confidence in your abilities at the poker table. You need to think that you're the best player, guys, and it's not something you need to say. I always try to mention that this is not about being arrogant or, being that loud jerk at the poker table that nobody likes. It's a quiet confidence, guys, that when you sit down to play poker, you're the best player at that table, and that's it. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2, guys, is getting too fancy. This is something that I still see so much, especially with small stakes poker players in today's games. And I think a lot of this actually comes from point number 1, once again, which is idolizing these high stakes pros and watching them do all these super fancy like river check raise bluffs in $1 million cash games, and then they take that to their 5-cent, 10-cent cash game on the internet where, people are playing for the price of a Starbucks latte and realizing that it doesn't work against these beginner level poker players. Guys, I've said so many times in these videos here before that when you try to get too fancy, when you try to bring your 10th level thinking that you saw some high stakes pro use against your, opponents in your $5, $10 game, whether it's a cash game or the internet, it's just gonna go whoop right over their head. They're just gonna call you down. You're just gonna get more frustrated. You're gonna wonder why they don't respect your raises and all that. Guys, it's because you're playing in small stakes poker games where your opponents are thinking on a very basic level. They have not even studied my free poker cheat sheet, which is the top link in the description below. If they would just read that, they would honestly get, a decent grounding for how to beat small and mid stakes poker games. I'm sure you guys have already checked that out, but most of your opponents have not. And so sometimes, guys, I know it's not maybe politically correct, but sometimes to say, but maybe you need to dumb it down a little bit sometimes and just assume that your opponents are fairly basic players until proven otherwise. This is really the approach that I've always taken in small stakes poker games, is to, again, without being overly arrogant or, being some sort of table captain or something, is just assuming that my opponents are not super high level thinking players until proven otherwise. Once again, this is not something you need to say. I'm not talking about berating anyone at the poker table. I'm just talking about having that quiet confidence that, once again, you're the best player at the table, and probably if you're playing in small stakes poker games, which is what 90% of you guys watching this video likely play, play, believe me guys, you're playing against mostly weekend warriors who are not even watching videos like this. They're not taking the game super seriously. You know, a lot of them probably do have a high level of confidence in their abilities. So what I'm saying guys is they're not the best players, and your super fancy plays are not going to work in most situations. What you should be doing instead is just making the most obvious play possible. You got a big hand? Bet it. You got nothing? Don't bet. Just check, fold, give up. Don't try to run a big bluff. Don't try to get tricky and trap them or whatever when you got, you know, pocket aces. Guys, just make the most obvious play possible again and again in small stakes games, and I think you're gonna have a lot more success. I know guys, nobody wants to hear this these days. They always think that there must be something more complex. There's something more. Guys, there isn't. Trust me. I played millions and millions of hands at the smaller stakes with some of the highest winnings of all time, especially in online cash games, and I can tell you, I got there through keeping it painfully, utterly simple in all situations and letting my opponents do the overthinking. All right, I think I've beaten that one to a dead horse. Let's talk about the third thing that held me back early on in my poker career, and that is blaming my losses on so-called bad luck. Because guys, what that ultimately does is it takes you off the hook. It removes you from being the one who's responsible for your losses at the poker table, and it just shifts the blame to somebody else. Oh, this poker site's rigged. Oh, that fish always gets lucky against me. Guys, this stuff is just not productive at all for your poker career if you take this game seriously at all. One of the first things that really started getting me real results in this game is when I finally started taking responsibility for my own results. I stopped blaming other people, stopped blaming sites, stopped trying to blame the card room or something else. Guys, what I decided to do is simply say, look, if I'm not getting the results that I want at the poker table, then it's my fault. I need to work harder. I need to start studying my hands away from the table, using a program like Poker Tracker, for example. I've talked about that before, how I've literally spent 10,000 plus hours in this program reviewing my hands. I'll have links for that in the description below. Studying poker books, poker training courses, and so on. I have spent countless thousands and thousands of hours away from the poker tables, improving my games, hiring coaches, and so on. I'll have links for everything that I recommend in the description below. But guys, that was one of the biggest turning points in my game, is when I finally stopped blaming somebody else and decided to just simply take responsibility for my own results in this game. Now, the sad truth, guys, it doesn't matter how good you get at poker. It doesn't matter if you spend 10,000 hours studying and improving away from the tables. You are still going to lose sometimes in this game. There is no two ways about it. Recreational players literally always have some equity in a hand. They can get lucky against you sometimes, and you also need to make peace with that. You need to understand that the worst poker player in the world can beat the best poker player in the world on any given day by simply getting lucky. But over the long run, guys, you cannot fight the math. If you learn how to play this game competently, if you take real responsibility for your results at the poker table, learning the right strategy and the right mental approach as well. By the way, you can just download my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. You can read that in an afternoon. That'll at least get you winning in small stakes games. If you take real responsibility for your results, guys, that's literally where the rubber meets the road in this game. That's where real poker players start getting real success at the tables. Guys, don't do these three things, but let me know what kind of poker results you're getting so far in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And once again, you can find all my recommendations for improving your poker game in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.